Hello everybody, hope that you are very well and welcome to this evening's Contenders live stream, which we have finally arrived at the ExoCharts live stream, which I know has just been like thoroughly really wanted now. So yeah, I'm happy to finally bring you ExoCharts tonight. The introduction, the setup that you need to if you want the same setup as me, which I imagine everybody does. I've named like the setup that you need to have to understand how to use this website. It's just thoroughly amazing. So that's what we're going to be going through today. And by the end of the day, you'll be set up and ready for that. And starting with WRX chart of the week. Okay, so WX chart of the week. Then we'll move on to ExoCharts, go over the ins and outs of the sort of viewpoints, the templates that I have, what the different sections are. Because if you're new to this, which I know many of you are new to ExoCharts or websites similar to ExoCharts, it's like entering into a whole different world. Yes, you know how to do general technical analysis with your support and your resistance levels, but going across to a website like Exo is just like a whole new level. Okay, so many of you will never have seen anything like it, sort of thing. So it's going to be very interesting. So yeah, and also it's like just a massively important tool. When you don't have this knowledge, you'd like trade almost blind. So it's going to open up a whole new world of level of trading. So it's really good. So yeah, that's what we're going over today. Again, I have zero affiliation with them, by the way. I just think it's a good website. But yeah, then I'll end with Bitcoin, a few trades that I've taken in this current range, and my expectations of how I expect Bitcoin to trade over the next few days to a week, really. So I'll give you that to end with. Okay, so yeah, that's the plan for tonight. Hope that you thoroughly enjoyed this one. Yeah, should be really informative. And let's begin. So obviously, as always, the stream disclaimer. If you want to just read this, I'm just going to take a drink and then we'll begin. Let me just make sure everyone can hear me okay as well. Sound equals good. Brilliant. So yeah, let's go. This was my WX, what I'm looking for on WRX. I'll load up the chart now, but basically it's essentially looking for a swing failure pattern of the lows, a reclaim of the level, obviously a long-term trade, take profit at the first monthly, and stop loss under the low of the wick that form. So if you've seen that briefly, let's go over to this chart. And yeah, many of you, if you're in the champions section, will know that I've been waiting for this little weekly for a very long time, literally since we got our original move up to the weekly, and I was expecting this to form the range and eventually come down to here. And people were under the impression it wasn't going to happen, but that is really why you do need patience, because that has finally made its way down to here. Yeah, absolutely lovely, really, isn't it? So firstly, patience absolutely needed. If you think a setup is never going to hit, just give it time and it probably will. So yeah, that's finally come down to this level. So what am I waiting for here? Really, you can see here, we obviously have this daily here. Okay, so I'll mark out the daily there. We have this daily, which is coming at 1361 sats. What I really would like though is, anywhere from this low here. Okay, so this low in particular, which was obviously our long lower wick down before, that day, by the way, that long lower wick ended 53% in a day, crazy. But what I would really like is between these lows, okay, and the sort of like order block, however you want to refer to this, candle here of this low. So I'm looking for a swing failure pattern anywhere really between these sort of levels, okay? So from our lows here down to the overall low, obviously the closer that we get to the bottom, the better. Okay, so if you can wick through this daily and get back above. So this stop loss is obviously arbitrary at the moment. We are so I'm not placing preset bids. Okay, so there's no preset bids at these lows, any of these lows. What I want to see is essentially this come down through the level. Okay, and even here, like when it's down here, I'm not going to be longing, not going to be entering any positions. What I'd want to see is a comeback up and a reclaim of these levels. You're probably going to find some initial resistance at the weekly. Okay, what we want to see is a reclaim of this levels, like a sign of strength. Okay, then there's plenty of space to trade this firstly up to the monthly, and then once you get to the monthly, really all the way back up to that weekly again. So it's kind of like a you don't need to expect anything, so to speak, at the moment. It is very much a waiting one again, where we're just waiting really for this to hopefully come down. We want to see it come as low as possible. Again, if it comes with a long lower wick like this, okay, then that would obviously be good. So you want to see a long lower wick through the level and brought back up. Okay, that's what you want to see for like a long trigger entry. And then the stop loss obviously becomes not arbitrary, because we enter after the wick has formed, and then we would use our stop loss at the low of that wick. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm waiting for here on WRX. I'm really not too aggressive on any alts. As many of you know, I've not been trading alts at all. I just don't feel the need to trade alts because Bitcoin is just so easy money. Bitcoin is literally so easy money. So I don't need to trade any alts really. But yeah, this is one that I will trade for like a swing trade. If I'm given the setup, and if I'm not given the setup, I literally won't trade it. But yeah, I'd like it if this occurs really. So yeah, long lower wick through these levels, bought back up. For me, it provides a decent opportunity for a swing trade, sort of buy and forget it for for a month. So yeah, that's kind of what I'll be looking for here. I'd like to see a swing failure over these lows. Really, then yeah, one could say for a safe long reclaim of that weekly. Okay, you get back above that weekly, take it up to monthly, take it up to aiming for the top weekly there. Personally, that's what I'd be looking for. Again, because you go up really fast, you come down really fast, but you've come down really fast, you can go up really fast. It's kind of like when you do these crazy big moves, there's no support built up, is there? And when you come down so aggressively, again, it just highlights that there's not time to build up so much resistance. This is obviously less, when you compare the difference, this is 2 days, 50% sort of upwards movement, whereas this has been a little bit slower. You obviously see the reactions that you had off the monthly, okay, so you spent a few days at the monthly, so that's why I'm expecting it to be a resistance where you could pull back, so you've got to use it as a take profit naturally. But yeah, that's for me are the levels. Okay, so if you want to compare those levels, because there really isn't much. If you just come back out to the monthly, obviously it's not too old. There might be other exchanges, I'm not sure, but yeah, on Binance specifically, all we're looking at, I'm sure it is on other exchanges, but nevertheless on Binance here we can see it was up from the listing, massive increase in price. This is our first red month, sorry. But on the weekly, you also had this massive increase in here. So because of the fact, once again, it's possible if you don't swing forward these lows that it drips all the way down and just slow bleeds. We've seen it time and time again where many of these alts just bleed and 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 bleed. Okay, all the way back to their sort of inception. So it's possible. I'm not expecting really that to happen. I would be surprised if it bleeds all the way down. But if that happens, I won't buy it. So I'm not going to really care. But yeah, I think there's a good long opportunity. But what we want to see is that sort of swing failure, get back above, then trade it back up to weekly, see how it goes from there. Really, it could coincide with a nice time for Bitcoin. All I would say is on altcoins in general, if we are expecting a big move on Bitcoin, which personally I'm expecting, I'll go through my Bitcoin thoughts at the end of the stream. But if we're expecting a big move to occur on Bitcoin, I don't feel that it's going to be favorable for alts. Okay, so with that in mind, obviously it's a lot more risky to try and trade alts at the moment. So if we do get this opportunity on WRX, it possibly might not even be the best. If we're like at an area where Bitcoin is likely to move 10% really quickly, it's very unlikely that alts maintain support while Bitcoin moves 10%. So we've seen it time and time again that altcoins generally like Bitcoin to be sideways, but upon saying that, Bitcoin has been somewhat sideways and the alts are continuing to just bleed. So currently altcoins are just not good trades, period. And that's why I'm not aggressive on this. No bids preset. Really want to see some signs that it is actually being proper buying at these levels. So again, I'd want to see some volume to back that up. If we just do a swing failure pattern on like zero volume, then again I'm not going to be interested in it. There are criteria that you want behind a swing failure. So for me, if none of it is met, I'll just leave it and not take the trade out. I'm not going to really care if I miss an altcoin trade. But yeah, that is the setup that I'm going for here on WRX. That's kind of my thought process, and how there is like a potential nice setup in here. I suppose for like what we could be looking at as well, okay, that you could load up like your fixed range in here really. So arguably where that began to where you are right now, you can see so points of interest. You are coming. So this weekly, there obviously is the possibility that although we're falling down as we speak, we and one would say that it's more likely that we continue down here. So I would say in terms of probabilities, yeah, you got to expect this to continue down. But you obviously are reaching this sort of high volume node around a weekly if this doesn't drop down. So obviously you do have a few key levels, which is obviously coming in here: 1420, 1420, 1400, okay, and then down to that daily. So you got this like psychological sort of big round number, 1400 sats, which could definitely possibly hold you as support. So if you do take 1400 and then get back above weekly, well then obviously you might want to adjust and say it is, if it's done this, and again you get a buyback on nice volume, then one could say it's not likely to come down to that daily anymore. So you got to be reactive on these sort of setups. because that is the whole idea of of the setup. It's reacting from the chart, then predicting what's going to happen, so to speak. So we're basically just ready, waiting, and ready to react off that chart, really. So that's what I'm looking for on WRX. I guess here's the point of control coming in at 1886 sats. You then have your value area high coming in all the way in at 2221, and you can see your sat. Well, you're now below the value area low. Okay. But yeah, that's WRX for you. So I'll clear that up and we'll move on. So yeah, if you have any questions on that one, leave it to the end, and we'll move on to ExoCharts, because this is going to be a pretty long one, I feel. So I'm going to try and keep my voice fairly monotone, because it does help me go through these long streams, I'm not going to lie. So yeah, that's the WRX setup right there. So ExoCharts. Yeah, this is going to be, so in today's session, it's kind of like an introduction into ExoCharts. Okay, so all of you that have no idea what it, I'm sure by now many of you do, because we are using it on a daily basis, but it's important to know that ExoCharts hasn't been around for years. You know, it is a relatively new website, okay? And there are many alternatives to ExoCharts. So I guess I'll start off by saying this. I'm no way affiliated with them at any way, shape or form. But I personally just feel it's a good website, okay? It is relatively new website, so it's not technically under beta, but they are continuously making updates. Okay, I actually have personal contact with the developer of ExoCharts. He's a very knowledgeable guy, but just like last week, I was pointing out bugs to him in the website. To be fair, he fixed the bugs very quickly, but nevertheless, it's not in my opinion anyway, it's not a finished website. There's still improvements to be had, but nevertheless, even in the state that it's in, it's far superior than anything else that I've ever seen for cryptocurrency. So yeah, there's many alternatives, but I like ExoCharts, to be honest with you. And so yeah, there are, I've been speaking, and I know that there are more features coming out. So in my opinion, it's only going to get better from here. And what we already have is very, 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 very helpful indeed. And to have, to know that it's just going to get better, it's pretty nice. So the specifics of each tool within this website, I am going to dedicate a separate stream to each one, as naturally this website encompasses many different tools, and within each tool, it's not going to be possible to give you a whole in-depth conversation in one stream of a whole introduction, what each tool is, full on in depth into what Delta is, full on into depth of what TPO charts are, in depth on what CVD is, in depth on like how to read a footprint chart, etc. So with this today's stream is like an introduction into the stream, rather than going through full information upon each topic within it. Okay, so that's kind of how over the next few weeks. Okay, so I imagine like 1 month, for example, over the next month to come, within each of this, I'll dedicate a separate stream to CVD. Okay, to like recognizing CVD divergences, etc., to what is Delta, how you trade from Delta. So just so you're aware that this is more like of the introduction, all the templates, get the setup and get ready for it, really. So yeah, I guess I'll start by saying as well that ExoCharts is, I think it's like $30 a month. I don't know. It's around this sort of price. It's not expensive for what it is. So to put this, like really emphasize this, for the same information, okay, so for the same sort of information, I'm used to paying $1,400 a month for essentially the same sort of info on the stock market, but nevertheless, $30 in my opinion is an absolute steal. This is like incredibly cheap. Like, it's just, this guy could literally be charging so much more money for what he does. Yeah, in my opinion, it's really amazing value for money, and you just got to, in my opinion anyway, it's kind of just like a needed expense. Okay, so just like when you run a business, there's things that are just needed. Okay, and this, in my opinion, is just one of those needed things. Okay, and it's not worth thinking, I can't afford £30 a month, because you got to be able to make that money somehow, because that is kind of priceless, and in my opinion, extremely cheap. So when I'm on Trading Technologies, which I do still subscribe to Trading Technologies, but yeah, that's $1,400 a month. And again, for stock market, and I acknowledge that stock market, the data is not cheap, but nevertheless, $30 a month for what we get here is very good value. Okay, so yeah, it does take time to get used to it. So I would just say this: you can buy it now, okay, and like trial it, so to speak, for a month. See if you like it, see if you don't like it. I'm going to be sticking with it. I would say that, but no, you know, you might want to wait 1 month until I have it finished, like the whole series of what everything is, and then, you know, potentially, anyway, I'm not telling you to buy this at all, but potentially buy ExoCharts in like 1 month's time once I've finished the whole series dedicated to each of the topics within ExoCharts. Okay, so that's a decision obviously you can make. Do you buy it at the end of this stream and start testing it out, or do you wait until I've finished all the topics within ExoCharts? Okay, so you have a full understanding before you go in and try and use it. Because all I would say is it is a little bit, I guess ExoCharts, like obviously the comparison within cryptocurrency is Atos and Sierra charts. Okay, they're both actually really cheap as well. I don't know why, but everything in crypto is just extremely cheap. Like, it's crazy. So Atos is obviously free, which is an alternative to this. And, you know, if you want to use Atos, then you don't really need Exo, I suppose. And Sierra is about the same, like $35 a month. Again, extremely cheap. But the advantage of ExoCharts anyway is it's extremely user friendly. You don't so an advantage is that it's extremely user friendly. Okay, for me teaching something, it's just very simple to guide somebody through using ExoCharts. Whereas Sierra Charts, for example, which is a platform that I also use, is extremely not user friendly. But the advantage of that is that you can customize everything exactly as you want it. So you have like unlimited customization almost. Whereas ExoCharts, you don't have that same level of customization, but there's a lot less places to potentially get confused and just get lost. So yeah, in my opinion, there's pros and cons, obviously, of you know, Sierra to Exo, but I have to say that Exo is a really well, you know, it's just got everything that you need, really. And I know that more features are coming and it's only going to get better, sort of thing. So ExoCharts, let's go across to the website. This is going to be your initial first page that you're presented with, or something similar. It's just going to give you a default sort of template. So what I have is I do have 7 different templates for this website. Again, I will share my templates with you so you don't have to go in and do all of this yourself. But nevertheless, yeah, I've got 7 different templates. Okay. This is going to be the first area that you are presented with, okay? And if you have the free version, because there is a free version of ExoCharts, I'm very sure there's a free version. So I think on the free version of ExoCharts, so again, you can just trial the free version for a month until I've finished with this series of Exo. That would be good as well. So I think that on the free version you're like delayed data or something, so you get data 4 hours afterwards, but to test that's absolutely fine, obviously. So let me just double check something and let's go in. So yeah, this is the first page that you're going to be presented with. Okay, I'm going to run through briefly what each of these menus are, just to remove all the confusion. So you can see on the top left you're going to have my profile. This is going to refer to once you've signed into your profile, is you're supposed. On the top left is where you get your tickers. Okay, so if I want to look at Bitcoin, again, BitMEX. If I want to look at Bitcoin, then I've obviously got the BitMEX futures contracts here. Okay, and then a whole different section of different ones on FTX. Okay, but I'm more obviously interested in BitMEX. We got ETHUSD, Bitcoin, and some of the futures pairs that you can trade over on BitMEX. I primarily, I'll be totally honest with you, only ever use this for Bitcoin. So but it's nice to obviously have these options. What I would like is an option for Binance, and look at the Binance altcoins. That would be great, but it's yet to come, obviously. But yeah, BitMEX is all you really need. Then obviously here, again, this 100% is going to require its own stream, because it's just unreal. You know, it's kind of just, there's so much to go into. But basically, what I love about this website is that you have, again, you do have this on Sierra, but what I like about this type of software is that everybody is currently just used to this column here, where you look at, you know, you go over to TradingView, okay, and you look at the daily chart, okay, or you look at the 15-minute chart, you look at the 5-minute chart. And as I've been like hinting upon previously, that, you know, it's not always just about, you know, for example, saying, oh, I want a 5-minute close above this level. That, you know, I like to say it because it's really easy. But, you know, at the end of the day, when I'm sort of saying, oh, we'll just wait for a 5-minute close, you know, it is arbitrary. These 5-minute closes above a level are, you know, somewhat arbitrary numbers, whereas if you switch, okay, you have access to, for example, a $20 million delta candle, you have access to a $20 million candle. You know, the range, the tick charts, okay, referring to transactions. You obviously have your trend reversal charts, your point and figure charts, okay. These are all charts, okay. You get point and figure on TradingView, but it's actually less advanced. So, you know, this is really advanced sort of ways to view a chart, essentially, okay, and ways that you get confirmation on a level being claimed. So, okay, when I'm scalp trading, I generally am not looking, okay, at these sort of time charts, and I'll be moving over to something like a tick chart, okay. So basically, again, I'm going to dedicate a whole stream to this. This is just a general overview, but essentially I'm only going to get a new candle printed, for example, when there's been 230 transactions. So it's not to do with time, okay. So obviously on the 1 minute chart, I'm getting a new candle printed every 1 minute, and you can see the noise that it creates, okay. I'm getting a lot of sideways noise. One could say like useless information. Like I don't need to know any of this information. I don't need to see from here to here, like, you know, what, 8 candles printed, you know, because there's nothing actionable in this. There's no information that I could find useful. Whereas if I change across to, for example, like a tick chart or a volume chart, well, then I'm only going to get information printed when I require that information. So for an example, if I was on a 10 million volume chart, I'm only going to get a new candle printed, okay, when the total volume is 10 million, and then it will print another one. E.g., I can sort of see when a level's being claimed in terms of volume, and I can see when price is getting rejected on low volume, because prices will be essentially moving down, but it's not going to be printing a new candle because there's no volume behind it. So yeah, this requires a whole stream, but nevertheless, this is extremely, extremely, extremely helpful, and you just don't have access to this sort of thing on TradingView. Moving across here is where you have your ticks. Okay, so if I just move this onto something that's going to be recognizable. Okay, so for example, here we're looking at ticks. So I've got this currently. Again, you can change this, and this is one of the main advantages of this website. Okay, so again, you don't have this in another software, period. You don't even have this in really like high grade, really expensive software. So this is like really crazily good, by the way. But you can adjust the ticks on all different sections. So obviously, whatever you have on your control panel on the left, your control panel on the right, your main charts, obviously your CVD, your the way that you mark a chart, which I'll get to in a second. But each one of these can be looking at different ticks. So my main chart, I could be looking at 6 ticks, for example. And then the way that I look at my developing week, I could, I can change all the ticks within this. I can go into my control panel on the left, change around the ticks on the, on a custom level. So everything can have its own viewpoint. So I guess the question first is, what is a tick? Okay, so if we come down to 1 tick, you can see that every single price is made of so each movement down here is $1. Okay, so you can see that there's a lot of information on this, because each of these sort of boxes are $1. Okay, whereas if I increase this up to, for example, 10, okay, so now each of these is becoming 10. So you can see the more you move this up, obviously the less amount of boxes that you're going to get. Again, if none of this makes sense, then ask a question. I'll get to the end, but it should be pretty simple. You can kind of see visually how I'm moving up more ticks, and now suddenly here we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we only have 5 boxes here when that's 31 ticks per box. Whereas when we go down to, go all the way down to 1 tick, okay, you're going to see that the amount of levels within here is there's suddenly a lot more. Okay, so that's kind of so the advantages and disadvantages of using low ticks versus high ticks. Obviously, when you're on really low ticks, like one tick, is when you really want to zoom in. Okay, so when you really want to zoom in here and see the exact level. Okay, so if I want to know the exact dollar where the point of control is, well, then I will know it's 9240. Okay, and then obviously you got 9240, and so that's the advantage when you're really zooming in. And I would personally say this is for like scalp traders. Okay, if you're looking at like a daily chart, you don't really anyway need like it on the 1 tick setting. Okay, so, or if you're looking at like a monthly chart, you're not going to have this set to 1 tick, because you don't need to know such really small information. Maybe when you're on like a monthly chart, you'll have it on like a 15 tick setting for an example. That you don't need to know the exact dollar. Okay, you want to see like a bigger boundary. So One would say maybe on like daily you could have 10 ticks, and then on the monthly, for example, like 15 to 20 ticks. Again, you can like experiment with it. I'll go through some of the things I have, but that's what the ticks are here. Okay, so it's how many ticks are being formed here, and you can see like there's a lot on the one, and then as you move it up, it's going to start combining them together essentially. So then your next section is the way that you look at the chart. Okay, so my main one, okay, so some of these are really similar, they just have like kind of fancy names. So your delta ladder, your delta cluster, your volume cluster, they're all essentially the same thing. I'm just going to take a drink. Okay, yeah, they're all essentially the same thing here. It's kind of just like different ways to view the same information essentially, if that makes sense. So when we're looking here at the delta cluster, and I am going to have to move this up because it's just so hard to view with one, but here we can see on the 2-hour chart that here is a delta cluster again. So it does kind of somewhat require a live stream of what a full introduction to delta, which I'm going to get to, but nevertheless, this is essentially clustering our delta candles of market buys, market sells. Okay, so it's going to say the way that I've got this color coded is green is obviously signifying buys, okay, and red, or this orangey sort of color, is signifying like dark sells. The light colors are where there's less delta, so the delta is relatively low. So if you zoom out, and we'll just put this to like for simple sake, like 4-hour chart, and I can highlight some of the trades that I've made recently, and I literally just based it off of this and how perfectly amazing it was. I guess we'll go over this one here. So as we came up yesterday to the top of the channel, we come into this high delta cluster. Okay, so high delta, high volume, essentially the same here, but what we could see is there was previously a lot of high delta. You can see because of the way that it's highlighted, okay, it's really dark, so you can just get that initial viewpoint of it's dark, but then when you zoom in here, you can see at this level you had 11 million buys, 6.4 million, 8.4 sales, and then you can see the buys buys to the right. Okay, so 8.4 million, 7.5. So there was just like a lot of this is just signifying the delta here. So 8.8 million market buys, okay, versus 11 million market sells at this price. Okay, so that's your delta cluster, and it's very similar to the volume cluster. I'm going to turn it on, and you're going to see when I put on the volume cluster, it's just highlighting in a different way. Instead of showing you the delta, like highlighting market buys and market sells, this is just going to go really dark where there's just a general big cluster of volume, and light where there's no volume. So this is really helpful. And what funnily enough, I found this out with Mike, was when a pretty helpful thing here is when you put on the value area, okay, and you change the settings to opacity, wasn't it? The opacity, trying to just see it here. Volume, oh yeah, 60. I think this is what we were changing, was it? We were changing this around, yeah. So you see, like when you put this to like a lower value, because I didn't realize this until a few days ago, and I think this is really helpful. Like when you change this to a low value, you can then see how the value area is really highlighted and the outer value is really invisible. So then it's only going to leave you with like high volume areas. And then what I like to do on top of this is turn up the opacity really high, and then, for example, see really visually and really quickly if something's really white. Well, it's not going to be a level that I'm necessarily so interested in, because I can say, well, this was the value area of this candle, but there was little volume in it because it's really light, isn't it? Whereas this candle here, I can say, okay, so this candle had a lot of volume because it's dark. It's just visually straight away. If you like this sort of thing, then it's visually just straight away. You can zoom out and say, okay, there was a lot of volume within this. I could expect reactions off of this level the next time it's retested, sort of thing, because there was a lot of volume in that candle. And what you could say is, okay, well, this candle didn't, in comparison, contain as much volume because of the fact it's just light. Okay, and to adjust the amount of whether you see, it's all under this shade setting. So for example, the more you turn it down, okay, the more of the clusters are going to turn really dark. Okay, because you're using a different different calculation to work out the high or low volume, essentially. Again, I'm going to dedicate a whole live stream to this, so I don't want to go over it in too much detail, because to give it justice, it does require a whole live stream of how to use it. But essentially, that's what it is. Okay, then you have your standard volume profiles. Again, that requires a live stream if we're honest. Volume profiles, then the delta profiles. Again, these are really, really, really similar. Again, this is just simply highlighting your volume, whereas this is going to do, you know, dark for like heavy areas of sells, blue for heavy areas of buy. Or not necessarily heavy, but that's the difference. Okay, between volume, it's generally just going to be like one color. Your value areas. Okay, value area high, value area low, point of control. This is out of value. This is out of value. And the delta profile exactly the same, very, very similar anyway, but you know, a little bit better in my opinion, that you can see, okay, that was a high. For example, you could go back and say, okay, so this was a high, you know, this was our naked point of control, but was it a naked point of control of buys or was it of sells? Okay, at this level where we're coming up to the value area high, was this comprised of a lot of market buys, a lot of market sells? Obviously that information is only beneficial, so it's only going to help you to know that. So I personally do prefer to look at delta profiles than market profiles, because they're giving me the same information but even more information, if that makes sense. Sorry, my throat is a little bit yeah, just got a cough. But yeah, that's what you're looking at with the delta. Don't use void, I don't use candles. The bid ask profile is pretty helpful. Again, it's very, very similar, but basically it's just, you know, you get more thickness, I guess, on, you know, when there's a lot of asks or sells, you get more thickness on the rights. So in terms of how people like generally will be using this, is that within this you obviously get your when you're breaking above a level, you want to see volume do sort of like this, and you know, you get your fill in the volume and really high volume upon taking a highs, e.g. there's a lot of buyers coming in. And when you lose the level, you might want to see it like this, okay, and order sell volume at the lows, and then obviously continuation above this. And this is known as like a P and a B within market profile theory. This is like kind of what you want to see when highs are being taken. You want to see these sort of prints where volume increases at the highs, okay, and you get high delta through breaking a level, and then obviously you want to see the continuation that goes along with that naturally. But that's like what you want to see upon breaking a high. Whereas if you just saw, okay, if you just saw something like this, let me just try and work out how I can extend this. I'm going to have to start it again. Whereas if you broke a level, okay, and it was just something like this, and your volume profile was maybe just like this, okay, it's not going to be shouting to you, okay, this is like you know, there's a lot of volume coming in at the highs. It might just say to you, okay, this is obviously breaking a level, but it might be more of a fake out because we're not seeing any conviction from the buyers. You really want to see conviction and a lot of buys coming in, obviously continuation upon that, but that's what you want to see. So yeah, that's what the bid ask profile is for. Very, very handy indeed. Moving on, you have the text, okay, so within here I generally like to look at imbalances, so I just put it back to my default. So I like to have this on imbalances. Again, how we use imbalances, it's a really big topic. So it's not really able to explain in 10 minutes. It requires a whole hour. But the way that we essentially look at imbalances, okay, it's diagonally and it's going to use multiples. I think I have mine on default of 300%. Yep, so I use mine at 300%, which is the bid ask, you know, when you're looking at it, zigzags. I like to have mine on 300%, so it's only really giving me like big imbalances essentially, or multiples of 300 for an imbalance. But on here you can have it just simply the bid ask. Okay, you can have it on delta, so it's literally going to give you of this price the delta. So here we can see on this point of control, for example, there was a total of this price. Okay, we are on 6 ticks, but within the 6 ticks there was a total of negative 1.8 million delta. Whereas in the total of this candle, there was positive 2 million delta. So essentially, this is just telling us here was 2 million market buys. If in the whole candle, there was 2 million more market buys. And at this price, there was 1.8 million more market sells. Okay. That's delta. That's your delta. Then obviously you just have the volume. So just simply adding it together, 9.9 million in here, 9.9 million in here. So you can see that this is pretty helpful to know where there's a lot of volume. Okay. Or you could just have it on none. I don't know why you'd have it on none. Well, I guess if you want your charts really clean, you could have it on none. But I guess the most helpful for me, imbalance is just pretty nice because you have everything that you need. You have the imbalances and you have the information within it. So I'd say imbalance is kind of nice, as long as you don't get like OCD or something where it just becomes too much. Then you might just want to move it down to volume because it keeps it very simple. Okay, moving on to the candle here. I personally like to have mine on none, but this is all 100% personal preference. Okay, because yeah, this section is personal. Okay, you can just obviously have it on a mono candle where you can really, I'm not sure how well you can see it, but it adds a candle to the surroundings. Okay, so I don't even use mono box, not even sure what mono box is. I think there's a box around this. Here you can just see the color candle, so you can kind of just see where the candle is. I'm always looking at trading viewer simultaneously, so I don't really know. I guess if I wanted to use this, I would use the open, high, low and close, so you can see then, okay, we opened here, we closed here, there was a wick, and that's where the wick is. So yeah, I guess open, high, low, close is an acceptable one. Or you could just see the open and the close. Again, that's not going to show the wick, but it's obvious where the wick would be. Or the high and the low. Don't know why you'd want that, to be honest. I just don't see the point in that. So I guess if you want to use anything, the open, high, low and close is the one to go to. 1 second. Oops. So yeah, that's but this is so personal. I personally don't see it. I don't need it, but yeah, I guess if anything, we would have the open, high, low and close. That's the most useful out of all of those. Next is simply the volume. Again, I don't have this on, don't need it. Next you have the trade count. Okay, so it's then showing you within this sort of volume candle. So there's your volume. Then you can see how much of it was buys, how much of it was sells, essentially. Again, I don't really use that, but some people will find that helpful. Okay, rect. Rect is showing you where liquidations are. So this can be helpful if you're trying to track open interest, for example. It could be helpful to know where the liquidations are. So the way this works is the bigger the circle, the more liquidations there were at that level. It doesn't say exactly on this that how much liquidations there were. You'd have to use other software for that. But you know, for just a quick viewpoint, you could say, okay, there was a lot of liquidations in this candle. Green signifying shorts getting liquidated, and red actually signifying longs getting liquidated. So what I could imagine is on this candle a lot of shorts were liquidated. Okay, so I'd want to be looking at that. Okay, a lot of shorts got liquidated on this rise. What's the open interest like? Was open interest going down or up? Really is the only thing I'd care about. But I don't use the rect. Okay, I don't see the need of it because I can get that information without needing to see this green circle. But that could be helpful for somebody. Here next you have the footprint bar. So this is what I do like. I do have mine customized slightly. This isn't going to be default. I guess if I load up the website just blank and then put on the default one. Oh, how do you do it? I think I just need to close it and reopen it. Yeah. And we put on the default. So on the default, this is your default view. Okay, so the top bar is the total volume. So here is put it to the daily. So today we've had 2.29 billion volume. Okay, of that we've seen 61 million delta. Okay, so 61 million market buys here. We can see the CVD, which is I believe on on session. I don't really like to use session for this. So we can see. Oh, there goes XRP dropping. We can see the CVD at 395 million for today. The point of control of today is coming in at 9,257, and the HNL, so the high to the low difference, $492. Okay, so quite a big difference. Okay. Yeah, that's so I don't have all of this on in my personal bit of customized, so I don't need to know all of that information if I'm honest. But that's what each of these rows refer to here, and that's what each of those are. Next, you move on to trade size. So this is pretty helpful. And what trade size is it's essentially telling you where you can get a quick view of where bigger accounts are positioning and where small accounts are positioning. So sometimes you might use this for looking for discrepancies. Okay, so if you see on the top row like 1 million plus and let's say all the 1 million orders, and you're seeing really loads of really big loads of orders or sales of 1 million plus, and you've moved up and all the volumes come from like less than 20,000 or like less than 100,000 contracts, so small size, then what you could say is, okay, prices, that's just given a random example, prices moving up, and larger traders are positioning to the short side, and we are seeing all retail or smaller accounts positioning to the long side. You might think to yourself, okay, small accounts are going long, all the big accounts are going short. and one would generally say follow the big money. Again, this is definitely not tradable. You cannot just trade off of what's happening there, because I'll tell you for a fact, a lot of big traders have no idea what they're doing, and they could be pumping in money they definitely didn't make it trading, I'll tell you that. So you don't just want to blindly follow what some big accounts are potentially doing here, because many times they're going to get it wrong. So never trade off of this, but it can be useful. Again, I'll be honest, I don't actually use this too much, but I know some people that do, and they're like, oh, it's really good. So this is essentially what it is. So you can see where big positions are, basic positioning, and then where smaller retail is positioning, and you can look for discrepancies, look for maybe actionable information. I personally don't use it too much, but it can be helpful to refer to from time to time, I suppose. Okay, so candlestick statistics is what's next. And again, I get all of this from at the bottom, but this is essentially giving us that same information that on this candlestick of this day, 2.29 billion, 63 million delta that will be, and 9,412. I suppose this is referring to the high. And then this is how much we are from low to high, negative 147.5. Not sure what that number is referring to, if I'm honest, but I don't use the candlestick statistics at the top here. I guess this is referring to how much we're down from the highs, maybe. Not 100% sure what this one's referring to, but it looks as it changes the dollar here, that this is probably referring to the highs to the lows, I imagine. So delta bars, I do like the delta bars. I have mine done in a customizable way. So the default delta bars I don't find overly useful. But essentially, this is just going to show you like a little bit more visually. Here we could see high delta in this. Okay, so maybe on this 6 hour chart there was 124 positive delta. Okay, and on this following one we saw negative 48 million delta. I have mine customized, so it's not the same view, but that's what the default is going to be there. Give you a nice visual representation. And as you know, when you break a high, you want to see increases in delta. So this is healthy. Okay, so this was a healthy move to the upside, so to speak. Again, it wasn't the overall high, but nevertheless, upon taking this high, okay, you want to see the delta going above this, and you can see we moved above that price on an increase in delta. So one could say that this is healthy, this is positive, and that's what you want to see. Again, just visually looking at that quickly is what you get. Open interest. We all know what this one is. Open interest, total amount of contracts open here. Very, very simple. Next, you look at net longs. So what we can see is this is net longs. Okay, so just simply how many longs are open here, and net shorts, how many shorts are opening or closing. Okay, so that refers to all of your top bars, everything that you need to know. And again, how I have this customized, we'll cover in a second. But the marker settings, really, really simple. You just mark exactly what you want to see. So if I wanted to see the previous week point of control, I could mark this. It's not gonna do it. Let's just go back onto this. So if I wanted to mark, for example, the developing week's point of control, I could just tick what I want to see, and then that's going to tell me, okay, the weekly point of control is 8,869. The weekly value area low is 8,689. Okay, so if I wanted to see that information, I simply tick it. If I want to see the previous month's point of control, tick this, and it will come up here. Going to be quite low. Obviously you need to tick that. So tick that you want it enabled. Previous month's point of control you can see is 6,880. Okay, so that's what the mark is done on the left hand side. Really, really easy. It just does all the work for you. Value area is simply whether you want the value area highlighted or not. Point of control, again, whether you want the point of control highlighted or not. Really simple. You might as well have both of those on, sort of thing. On the left, you have a lot of different things of what you would like. I personally have volume profile on the left, so like a visible kind of, well, it's not visible, but a volume profile cluster on the left. And on the right is where I have my DOM chart. So this is like a live depth of market. And what you can see here is like where bids are resting, so we can see that there's a lot of bids, for example, at 9,150. There's a buy wall at 9,150, and there's somewhat of a sell wall 9,300. Okay, so that's helpful to just get a quick glimpse. And then you end with the TPO charts. Again, TPO charts are like a whole different theory again. And in my opinion, the TPO charts are not very good at the moment on ExoCharts. So my very, very honest, I don't like the TPO charts on this website at all. I feel they are really really early stages, let's just say that they're very, very bad, or not bad, but they're just I don't really hate the way that it's laid out. So I don't really like the ExoCharts TPO charts. Okay, it's a good addition, but there's so much work that they need to do on it. But obviously the way that you would use this essentially is look at your sessions. Okay, so here again the viewpoint is really bad. I don't know, but I did speak to the guy, and he is working on, because you know the way that I like to do it as well, where I will you know, for example, combine several profiles together. Again, you just can't do any of that on this either. And the way that I like to look, if I'm looking for like single prints, and I don't know, I just don't really like this TPO so much, but they're improving this, so I'm not going to cover this because it's work in progress, and I know that it's being worked on essentially. So that should come in the next update of TPO. It should be getting a bit better. So yeah, that's all the settings there. Then in terms of my templates, these are ones that I will upload for you all, okay? And the way that I actually use this in detail, I'm going to like do a live stream dedicated to it. But just so you have a like an overview, this is where I'll be looking at my footprint charts, and my default view is on the Delta cluster. I can go over some trade examples that I used on this when I get to the Bitcoin trades, because I used this. And here is my custom Delta bars screen. So you might want to just pause and look at this, okay, or make a print screen. But essentially, it's the CVD line. So I like to have it in the line. You know, when I'm looking for like CVD divergences, okay, I want to have my yeah, that's how we can look at like divergences, okay. Again, yeah, that's a little bit of a custom setting, but it's not. I'll do a live stream exactly how this is used, but yeah, this is really helpful. And then at the bottom, I just simply have volume, delta, and CVD, which is a running total of CVD, not session volume. Okay. You know, when I give you the template order, this will be in there already, but there's the settings for that. So moving on, I have the open interest settings, and I would never use this on such a high time frame. So for example, if we come down to the 1 hour, okay, what I love about this is I can see the open interest here, open interest going up. Okay, that on its own is not really helpful, because is it new longs, is it new shorts? Well, on ExoCharts it's going to tell you we've got an increase in open interest with new longs opening, shorts staying sideways. Okay, so that is healthy, if we're honest here. That's what you want to see. Increases in open interest, increases in longs as price goes up. Okay, if price was going up and the net longs were going down and net shorts were somehow, well, I guess net shorts were going down as well, then it's not so healthy, is it? It's kind of like not a healthy uptrend, whereas this is a healthy uptrend. We're seeing net longs increase and open interest increase. Really good. The next one that I have is Mark. This one's a bit crazy, but if I want to just quickly see what everything was marked at, then I'll just quickly switch on this and just get the statistics that I want to look at really quickly. Again, it's going to tell me everything. I don't need to do any of the work. It's just so quick. Okay, so that is the marker setting that I have. Again, I'll put on this template. Here I have the trade statistics, but again, I don't really refer to this so often. I'm more interested in just here, more interested. You know, if I really want to quickly see what the weekly value area low is, I straight away know it's $6,889. Okay, moving on, I have the daily. So this is a volume profile on the daily, where I can be seeing my naked pointer controls. Okay, naked pointer controls there, and basically a volume profile of the daily. I would like this if I could combine, but can't do that at the moment. But yeah, that's the daily volume profile. Then I have a weekly volume profile, exactly the same. Like to use this for my naked pointer controls. Get some information of what our distribution is looking like. Moving on, I have just very simply a monthly view of the same thing. So again, we could say that the next monthly resistance is 9,740. Okay, so 9,740, and then obviously you have support down here at 6,860, sort of thing. Okay, and then my last one is a TPO one, but I'm not going to go over this because I don't feel that it's ready at the moment. I don't see the point in using TPO on this website as it stands. So yeah, that's ExoCharts. Those are all the settings within ExoCharts, and that's how I have it set up, ExoCharts. In the streams over the next few weeks, I'm going to go heavy into Delta, how you use Delta, what Delta is, how I trade off of Delta. Then I guess CVD will be the next one, because CVD is, as you will know, just like an amazingly high, just insane hit rate that you have trading off of it. So yeah, then we'll go into like more detailed volume profiles, DPOs, how you use the imbalances, how you actually read footprint charts correctly, because obviously you can just simply look at it like this, but then how you can see more information within a footprint chart, whether it's a trend is healthy or not, what how well DOM is not so easy. DOM is sorry, I meant to say DOM is more easy. It's really simply just where orders are stacked, so that doesn't require a live stream. I think everyone understands that. And then obviously the VPO, the volume profile on the left is we've done a live stream on this. You'll know what that is as well. So yeah, that's EXO, and we'll be going into more detail of this in the coming weeks. Okay, so but that's the introduction. If you have any questions on that intro to the website, just let me know and I'll get to that. Thinking if there was anything else that I wanted to say about this. I think I've literally covered all of that. So I can go over some examples for you now of Bitcoin and how this was helpful out of interest. I am interested to see what's happening to it up here. It broke down, lovely. Cool. So let's go back to Bitcoin. So some of the examples I got for you, just unreal, just so nice trading. Obviously, where was that post? I'll go over the screenshot I gave you all today, which was just like insane. Yeah, look at this. So I really love that this inspires people, because I've traded this like an absolute boss. These were the last 6 trades that I took on Bitcoin, and 100% win rate on every trade. Obviously, this is again all give in advance, telling the levels, telling how I was trading, all in advance. So obviously this all started with the ones that I'm going to focus on was the short from here and the short from here, because this was specifically used on EXO, especially short number 5. But yeah, that's how we've managed to trade all of this so far, and obviously in that long position from this morning, just brilliant. It really was. But if we come across to ExoCharts, okay, you can see from short number 5, where I was selling the top of the channel, what was the confluence that we had on the top of the volume, okay, on the top of this channel. Okay, it was really simply, if we just hide the imbalances a second. So this is my one. You might want to hide it because it gets a bit in the way, and I personally like to use the volume cluster when I say that, and I do like to use this. But here we can see that this is where the high volume was coming in, and I was looking at this on the 4-hour view. Okay, so you can see this is where we had this where we had this high volume cluster, okay, and the point of control there was coming in at 9120. As you'll know, the 9120 was the level I was essentially waiting for to short this, and that's where we got up to the top of the channel. So the confluence really was rejection from the high volume area, okay, as well as the top of the channel. When I took my previous short before that, again, all know that I was waiting for 9120, and that was obviously a confluence, okay, of fibs, and also you had these 2 pointer controls coming in on the charts. So what we can know is that this was, part of the original sell-off when you come back into this area, which again was where we were looking at a Gartley, okay, so that sort of Gartley harmonic pattern. The confluence was that we were coming into some high volume resistance. It was unlikely that you were just going to break straight out from that, and it's much more likely you're going to continue to range. So that was 2 trades taken from looking at like the volume and where there was high volume clusters essentially. Yeah, and that's how we got those. Obviously, this one was from the head and shoulders counter. This one was simply because we were at the bottom of the range, and we had massive CVD divergences. So I'll show you the CVD divergences on that one when we were looking at this. Look at that. So massive sell-off on CVD, but we were still making a higher low. You had lots of just screaming at you buy sort of thing at the bottom of the channel there. When we came up to the lows, obviously we shorted that, hit take profit here, and then got stopped on the rest of the position. But this was the thing. Last night, I'll show you this because I'm a proud guy. I put a lot of time into this. So when I was saying this last night, I'll try and find this post for you really quickly. Yeah. So. This was last night. I was saying, it's funny, I refer to this because obviously a few days ago, I was giving to you all over in the update section the quote of one of the quickest ways to lose money is longing the high of a range or shorting the low of the range expecting a breakout. Trade the range until it has broken. It will last longer than you think. That was the quote that I gave you a few days ago. And then last night I was saying to you all, I'm not going to be shorting anymore the high of this range. And then obviously this morning I was, saying, basically giving the levels, saying that I was expecting a push up and longing, consolidation under resistance. So going against going against what I preached of, don't long the top of the range expecting a breakout. This morning I longed the top of the range expecting a breakout, and we broke out. But there we go. That just shows you what you need to be looking for. This was obviously consolidation under the resistance off the back of a partial decline. So yeah, just nice technical analysis. Okay, so that explains those trades. And obviously this is what I was looking for locally on this. Does look like it's pretty close to have played out, but I was looking for this harmonic here, for us to go literally from the low to the highs to the lows back up to here. Might not be happening anymore. It seems to be just attracted around this middle point. So but that's what I was looking for locally. But I guess what I have to just say is the trend is really clearly up. There's no need to try and short this high. Okay, so where for me is another good short. Not here, if I'm honest. I don't feel this is an overly good short, although yeah, absolutely this 9339 is a big resistance. Okay, so if you want to short, you can just have your stops above that high and you think this is the high. But I think you got higher probabilities because the probabilities are low because this trend is just clearly up. Okay, we're just making higher highs and higher lows, so you're fighting the trend here. So you want to see a bit of weakness. If you come back into this range, well then you got yourself a short, haven't you? Deviation from the range, back down to the lows. Deviation from the range, back down to the lows. Okay. Here, if we come back down here, deviation of the high, well, you can expect anyway to trap that back down to the lows. Obviously, you take profit at the midpoints, but nevertheless, that I feel would give you a good short if you come back into this range. Now you've broken the range, you don't want to come back into it. Okay, otherwise it will look like this, where then you expect an auction back down. But if it continues here, I have no reason to think otherwise. At the moment, they're just not going to push up again. This is so far so good. Okay, absolutely it can turn down from here, but we don't need to time the high here. I feel that if you come back into this range, you have got then that short back down to the lows at the very least, sort of thing. So yeah, personally not interested in shorting here. My short would come if we get acceptance back into this low. I'll be looking to take it to the midpoint back down to here. I am aware that we do have this double bottom for the liquidity which we could look to run. So yeah, but as it stands, yeah, I'm a bit more bullish naturally, because there's just no reason to not be bullish after what's happening at the moment. You know, just like on the run when we ran up to like 10.5k earlier in the year, you know, we ran up to 10.5k, but you don't need to short 10.5k. You know, if you shorted even, for example, 9k once it had fully broke structure, then you got a short from 9k all the way to 3k, and it's really similar here. You don't need to be shorting 9,200. Wait for acceptance, maybe we'll go back 9k and you get another short. So you know, that's the way I kind of view it. As it stands right now, this is essentially consolidation that's trying to break out right now. We do have the local resistance, that 9339. Okay, so that's a really big level that needs to be claimed, obviously, to get higher. But that is the one. That's your next one. So then if you get above 9339, I got to be thinking, you know, 10k, to be honest with you. So yeah, that's my opinion on Bitcoin. So yeah, obviously that long that I took this morning has hit take profit already. So we have hit take profit on that long. And yeah. Yeah, that's funny that I was like preaching this morning about like it was bullish, don't try and short, and then yeah, we obviously got that rise. Yeah, that was lovely. So let me go over some questions anyway. Let me check. So so how is it that daily point of controls, etc., are so different than session profiles on TradingView, even trading this tick side? So what you have to think, okay, so there is going to be a discrepancy between using TradingView and ExoCharts, because the way that TradingView calculates their sessions are different than ExoCharts. So it's kind of like comparing, somewhat to speak, oranges. Like the way that I view it is ExoCharts is like professional grade software when you're looking at volume, and TradingView is somewhat amateur. Okay, and the way that TradingView is calculating, they're basically using different calculations, so there are discrepancies. One could say that it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, where the one on TradingView does seem to work, but if you want the accurate information that you can almost guarantee is correct, then ExoCharts is definitely going to be giving you the correct information. So between the two, okay, if I had to choose one or the other, I feel ExoCharts is professional grade software. Like, this is what the website's designed for. This information is correct. Whereas the way that TradingView, so off of the back of last week, I made a ticket with TradingView basically to see, because I was also intrigued. And yeah, the way that TradingView calculates it is basically they go off of like 5, 10, 15 minute clusters, and then they shade off of these, just in my opinion, like it does seem a little bit arbitrary time frames. So it's kind of just like rolling the dice. Whereas on ExoCharts, it's actually accurate, and like the formulas are not so arbitrary. That's the way that I view it anyway. But I was also intrigued from last week, because I was also stumped thinking, what, how the hell is TradingView's information so different than Exo's? But upon doing a little bit of research, one can see straight away that TradingView is a little bit beginner, so to say, and it's just kind of like a little bit arbitrary. So yeah, that's the reasons. The whole formula behind how they're working out is different. So that's the reason why TradingView has different, for example, pointer controls than ExoCharts. The formula is just different. Period. And do we have any other? So that's one of the questions that we got here. Let's see what else we got. So. Let me see. But yeah, that one's definite. Let me see. I'm just reading here. We have quite a bit. No, so these numbers are only markets, only market buys and market sells. No, it does not include limit orders. What else do we have in here? Okay, yeah, so obviously, yeah, the value area high, value area low, point of control, and naked point of controls are of individual candles, 1 hour, 1 day, or 1 week, but they're all of ranges. So naked point of controls do pay attention to. Obviously, this is so dependent on context, okay? So I'm going to be more interested in a 1 week point of control if I'm looking for a really long-term swing trade, and I'm going to be interested in like a 15-minute naked point of control if I'm a day trader. So context is, I can't just say I'm only looking at the weekly, because I look at all of them, and it depends on the time frame that I'm trading on, really. So yeah, this is really, yes, you do have obviously point of controls of every candle, but as a swing trader, you're not going to be interested about a 5-minute naked point of control, okay? Because it's just not, you're never going to look at that time frame sort of thing, because you're a swing trader. So the answer to this is it depends what you're looking at, depending on the time frame that you're trading on, essentially. Any technical reason why you prefer the footprints over candlestick statistics? The candlestick statistics on the chart instead of towards the downside? I just don't need the... Well, I can see it here. So all the information that I need personally is this: the volume, the delta, and the CVD. Like, I don't need to know what they put or else they put here. So here, 908 million, I can see it here. 97 million, I can see it here. And then I see my CVD. So again, personal preference. Whether if you prefer it on your chart, put it on your chart. It's essentially the same information. It is the same information, but I don't know. For me, this looks really messy. I don't know if you all agree, but that looks really messy to me. I don't know. I just don't like it. So I don't have it on, and I like to keep it separate and have it at the bottom. How did you apply fib time on your current harmonic? So on this one, I was looking at this. So this, well, again, might not play out, but I was looking at it like this, really, from the... yeah, this has gone on too long. 100% this has gone on too long. But I was originally looking at this from A to B. Oops. I was originally looking at this of A to B. Okay, and looking between here and here. But we can clearly see it's gone on too long. Okay, and then for this last leg, I'd have been going from here to here, and wherever the bottom came in, and again looking for the one-to-one. But yeah, this for me is now no longer actually so valid. It was looking nice when we originally had this leg up and we were heading down, but because we've gone sideways, I don't actually like this harmonic anymore. It's not tradable for me. So yeah, that's kind of been ruled out. We just have a really simply a range going on here now. So we just have a bit more simply something like this. Okay, so just we just have a range now. We don't have any harmonic. What else do we have? Don't you use TradingView? Well, funny enough, I don't even know why, but I do have a direct debit subscription to this website still. So I don't know. I do still pay for this, but I never use it anymore. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know really why I pay for this, but I do. So yep, I still do have that website. I don't really use it so much anymore. I guess I do kind of refer to it sometimes, but yeah, if I had to choose between the two, yeah, ExoCharts is a lot more valuable. But trading light, I never use that CVD Plus anymore because I don't need to, sort of thing. What advice would you give on best ticks to use in terms of just knowing the actual figures you want to see? Again, this is so context dependent, so that there isn't just a best tick. That it's impossible to say this is the best tick, stick to this tick. That there literally isn't an answer, and obviously I'm going to do a live stream on ticks and like which is the best one for each situation. But yeah, there isn't a best tick to use. It kind of is dependent on the I guess it's essentially with the time frame you're trading on. Smaller time frame traders need to know more specific numbers, whereas higher time frame traders don't need this exact tick of where a high volume node is, for example, or a high point of control. You look at a cluster because you're looking at that sort of region. Okay, is the kind of the best way that I would like to explain it. So there's definitely not like a best tick number. So I couldn't just say when you're on the weekly time frame, look at 22 ticks and this is the best tick time frame. So the way that you work out is one would generally look at like averages and work out the best average of what you've been trading recently. But again, I'm going to do a live stream on that, so you can go pretty in depth on it on the way that you could get the best tick, but at the end of the day, there's no like scientific best tick number. Just knowing the actual figure. And in terms of, do you want to see on HT volume or delta high volume, I guess, volume or delta cluster? Just knowing the actual figures you want to see on. Yeah, so yeah, I unfortunately don't have like a best tick number, so to speak. It is kind of just dependent on the time frame you're trading on, the information that you want. I will do a live stream on ticks, but that's essentially an easy answer is just there's no like this is the one sort of thing. Let me see if there's any other questions here. If we short after market structure is broken, we don't get any clout onto it. Yeah, that is true, but you make more money. How did you apply for? Oh, did that one? So a question, there is a lot of euphoria in the market about price going upwards. What were you going to be looking if you were to counter trade the sentiment? I just don't see any need to do that. There's obviously a time and a place for it, but there's just no need to try. Obviously the sentiment is clearly bullish and going higher, and this is why I feel, or I'm very certain, when a drop comes, the drop is going to be very big and very fast because of the way liquidity has been built up with the higher lows. Almost certain the drop is going to be very big and very, very large, but at the same time you're going to lose more money trying to time the top here. Okay, you got to wait for a little bit of rejection. You just got to do it, because time and time again on this uptrend, if you've been trying to do it, you've just been throwing away money essentially. So again, that's not to say I haven't tried to short some of these highs, because I obviously have tried to short some of them. But essentially, if we're looking here on like a swing trader's perspective, there's no what's the point in trying to short this high again? Because more than likely we're going to head up. Okay, and until those probabilities change, just trade with the trend. Don't try and fight it. You're going to make more money. So in terms of market trading, trading sentiment, give me a bit of a sign. Come back into this range. People are still going to be bullish when it comes into here, but I'll trade it down to here, and maybe we come back down to here and then we head up. But nevertheless, I want to see a bit of weakness. I'm not just going to try and short. I just don't feel this is a good short. Okay, if we come down, yes, I miss timing the top, but I get a lot better probabilities. When will ExoCharts accept other payments? Pass on that. Yeah, they only accept Bitcoin at the moment. I'm not sure when they'll accept others, if I'm honest with you on that regards. I would like them to accept credit card though, because I like playing with direct debits and things, but I don't know. Okay, so the other question is from Karim here, and I will highlight this, and this is what he wrote. Okay, basically ExoChart is going to show you the 4-hour time frame, whereas TradingView will only show point of control of many candles from that range. And the difference is that ExoCharts, that's an advantage. To know that is like an advantage. So that's just simply a benefit of ExoCharts over TradingView. Okay, so I got to say yeah, if I had to just use one or the other, obviously TradingView is really good because everybody knows it, everybody uses it. But as I'm like showing you and teaching you these tools, I can now show you that I use it on how I use it on this. Whereas I've never done a live stream on this before. But I mean, TradingView is very, very simple. These sort of tools are more complex, but more complexity does give you better advantages. So that's an advantage of ExoCharts, being able to see the individual candles, point of controls. Yeah, it's just simply a difference. One, you cannot really compare them, so to speak. They're so different, and ExoCharts is a lot better. I'm not referring to do you change bid-ask imbalances calculations for different time frames? No, I generally just keep it on 300%. That for me is fine. You mentioned if session trades back into previous day value area low, it's 80% odds to go back to previous day value area high. Does this apply the other way around? If it breaks down into previous day value area high, yes, it does. It absolutely does. So yeah, trading that up from the high back, if it gets acceptance back into the high after a break, you get 8% probability to trade back down to the lows. You do want 2 30-minute candles within that high, so it's not just get in straight away, trade it down. So you do want to see acceptance, and acceptance is generally from a TPO point of view 2 30-minute closes within. So if you have broke, so if we've broke above here, okay, let's say this is value area high of the previous day. If we come back into here and get 2 30-minute closes, okay, below, that is classed as acceptance, where you have 80% probabilities trading it down to that previous day value area low. Okay, the same if you were trading upwards, okay, and you come back into previous day value area high, you want 2 30-minute candles in, and then you can trade it up. That's just kind of the rule. Again, this is like from a book, it's not like my rule, but or my statistics even. That's just simply yeah, that. Yeah, cool. So yeah, payments are on this are crypto only. So yeah, that's either an advantage or a disadvantage, I suppose. I don't know whether they'll accept other payments in that regards. I have no idea. But yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed this introduction into ExoCharts. You've understood how you know, essentially what all the different options are here, because I know for the first time you look at it sort of thing, you might think, oh, what am I looking at? But it does start to get really, really simple, even for me, because, you know, ExoCharts is not a new website. It's been around for a few months sort of thing, like just over. So it's a relatively new website. So even for me, you know, the first time you look at the interface, obviously it is a bit like, you need to learn it, same as I needed to learn it, just like any other software. So you know, get accustomed to it. I'll be going over exactly what everything means within this, and how you actually trade off of it, and how I trade off of it in separate dedicated streams for each topic within this. But this has been the general overview to get you accustomed to this, to get you to know essentially what I'm looking at. But in terms of how we get this information and then make this into tradable statistics, that's what I'll be going over next week. So yeah, hope that you've all enjoyed this one. Thank you everybody so much, and I will catch you in next week's stream. Cheers and have a good one. Thanks. Bye.